So Standard Chartered has recently played a key role in facilitating an Islamic financing facility for Agrobank in Uzbekistan. So how do you see partnerships such as these, especially within the Central Asian region as well, support financial inclusion?
Yes.
Yes, within the region.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yes. So it was our pleasure to arrange the financing for Agrobank, which was one of the first Islamic, you know, characterized loan. This was also for SMEs, so it was an on lending for a highly development purpose, right? And Standard Chartered has done a lot of these financings earlier as well, not only in Uzbekistan but with ICIEC help in other sub-Saharan African countries as well.
Right.
So we see this as one of our key roles in promoting trade and development in not only Uzbekistan but in other client markets, our footprint markets across the Africa, Asia, and the Middle East.
Right, of course. Since you mentioned ISEC as well and ISEC's role in this, ISEC has been instrumental in providing risk mitigation support to several of Stanchard's deals and transactions. Can you just tell me a little bit more about ISEC's involvement in deals related to Islamic financing and also just on a wider scope of things?
Yeah, sure. So typically, like for a Standard Chartered Bank, right, as perhaps all of you know, we are an emerging market focused bank. So when we are looking to finance projects, developmental, sustainable projects across our client markets, and what we could do without a guarantee, just as a commercial bank, would be perhaps a loan which is a tenor of say 2 to 3 years, right? That's what the market can offer. That's what we can do as a commercial bank. But with the help of an ICIEC guarantee, we are able to provide longer tenor loans which match the age of the infrastructure assets that we are financing. So it helps our clients with the asset liability matching. So that's the key role. And with the help of an ICIEC guarantee or the guarantee of any multilateral development bank, we can provide much lower, competitively cost pricing for that loan. So that's the key advantage, and we have that's been our pleasure to do a lot of these financings with the Islamic trade as an Islamic loan, not only for Uzbekistan, as you mentioned, which was one of the first of its kind in that market, but also we did, for instance, in Uganda. So that was the first Islamic, Muraba structure which was done in Uganda, and that was also the first loan for ICIEC. So we have done several projects in Sub-Saharan Africa, for instance. In Senegal, it has been a stadium which hosted the Youth Olympics. It's a landmark structure there. We are working in Côte d'Ivoire, which is supposed to be a building for the government. It's again going to be a landmark building in Abidjan. So we have, financed lots of these important developmental projects. For instance, solar-powered public lighting. That's also something which we have done with ICIEC in Africa.
Of course, yes. Can you just speak to? Can you just tell me a little bit more about the streetlight project in Senegal and the Islamic finance aspect of it because of ICIEC's backing?
Yes, sure. So in Senegal, they have, this is a national project which they are rolling out. So the phase 1 of this was actually done with one of the international contractors. So this is public street lighting, but it is solar powered. So the government of Senegal has got this aspiration to be able to roll out solar powered public lighting across Senegal, including rural areas. So hugely developmental, because these are these far-flung areas, in the hinterlands of Senegal, where you do not have the transmission network or the distribution network. So, so what we financed with the help of ICIEC was the subsequent phase. The phase 1 had been done with the help of an intern. So the subsequent phase actually was done with a local contractor, and that's the beauty of it, because with the help of just the local contractor, which was much more cost competitive compared to the earlier phase, we were able to provide this financing. And because of the help of ICIEC, the loan which we provided to government of Senegal was very competitively priced and was a longer tenor loan, which helped them do this.
Okay, wonderful. So I just wanted to divert a little bit, deviate, and ask you more about your future collaborations, maybe in Uzbekistan, if any. Like, are there any projects in the pipeline in the country or just in the wider Central Asian market?
Yeah. So yes, indeed, there are other transactions which are in the works. So of course, because they are in different stages of execution, something we can't disclose. But yes, there is a very strong pipeline. Uzbekistan is a very key market for us. We are working not only with the sovereign, but also at the sub-sovereign level. So similar to the earlier project which you mentioned, which was for financing of SMEs. Then there are other markets, new markets you're looking at, for instance, Kazakhstan and others. So Standard Chartered, while traditionally has been Asia, Africa, and the Middle East, I think this market, the stance, we have been a new entrant in this market. So it's just growing there. So Kazakhstan would be next, and then probably other countries thereof as well.
Was that a conscious decision to expand into these markets, especially in the Central Asian and Sub-Saharan African markets?
Yes, indeed. So this was a strategy which is being followed. So for Standard Chartered Bank earlier, we only used to deal in markets where we have presence. Right. So, for instance, Malaysia or Singapore, we have got relationship managers on the ground. So those are the only markets where we will be doing business. But there was a change in strategy, and the idea was to do more in some of these markets where we are not present as well. And as part of that, I think there is this initiative to do more in some of the stans and other markets in Africa or Latin America or Central America.
So one of the ideas would be to drive financial inclusion then through all of these sustainable development projects. Would you agree with that? Like, is that?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It is. I think some of the other financings that we have done in Uzbekistan, if that's a market of interest, is promotes that. So it is to support, financial inclusion and gender-related financings. For some of the financial institutions in Uzbekistan.
Okay, great. So that just comes to my final question then. Again, on multi-institutional partnerships, there's collaborations between Standard Chartered, ICIEC, and most recently also the Black Sea Trade and Development Bank. So how important are strategic collaborations or partnerships to Standard Chartered, especially within the Islamic finance space?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think to maybe reiterate, what I mentioned earlier, so as a commercial bank, because of the regulatory restriction requirements, where we could possibly do a shorter tenor loan, which is not so useful for a client in some of these markets, with the help of an ICIEC guarantee, we are able to provide a longer tenor loan, and also at a price at which it is sustainable for them, right? So, hence we are able to. It is very crucial. The ICIEC partnership. In fact, this was something we did the first transaction recall in 2019, and since then, and it was an Islamic transaction, Islamic trade, which was done Muraba, commodity Muraba structure, and since then we have done a number of these, and there, like last year we would have closed 5 transactions with them, and there is another 5 which are in advanced stages, so we are hoping to close. So we have become one of the biggest partners of ICIEC, and all of these are hugely developmental, as you mentioned, So yes, so financial inclusion is of course key, and yeah, there is a good pipeline in Uzbekistan and other Stan markets.
Right. So what would be the I think it would not be fair for me to ask you what would be the biggest priority, but maybe one of a couple of priorities, what would that be for the bank itself in the next maybe 12 months?
Yeah, I think for the next 12 months, the key would be to close some of the transactions which I mentioned to you, which are in the pipeline.
Yeah.
So we are hoping to close that to reach financial closure for them.
Okay.
And of course, to be able to grow on the partnership, right? As we mentioned,
Yeah.
we started in 2019, and we want other investors to come in as well to support this, because there is only so much as a Standard Chartered Bank can do. As part of that, one of the transactions which I mentioned in Cote d'Ivoire is with an institutional investor. So we want to be able to grow that and bring in more investors who are also comfortable with ICIEC risk. So we want to grow the liquidity pool which is available under the ICIEC guarantee, so that there is more which can be done with them.
Right, okay, of course, noted. Thank you very much for your time again.
Excellent, Radhika.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.